After attempting to destroy the Statue of Liberty, the primates of the Planet of the Apes encountered one of the last Kong, a great ape that called into question the foundations of the city. After this great discovery, Dr. Zaius, Zira, Cornelius, and the army of Ursus traveled to Skull Island, a place where they discovered prehistoric creatures and a society of humans. After a confrontation on that island, Ursus and his men kidnapped the last of the Kongs to take him to Ape City. But it all went wrong. In our last video in this series, we'll be looking at what happens when Kong escapes from the apes and meets the mutants. And for more videos from the Planet of the Apes universe, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Welcome to the Oasis Geek. As Nita escapes with Kong through the jungle, Ursus's army shoots and corners the creature. We can see how Nita tells Kong that he must continue escaping. If he stops, Ursus's army will finish them off. She needs to escape to the ruins of the Forbidden City, but Kong is already tired and injured. Nita fears that they will not be able to escape or return home. Meanwhile, the army attacks Kong from all sides. Ursus asks his men to finish off the beast. Now is their chance. Eventually, Kong reaches a cliff. Below is the Forbidden Zone, and above are the apes pointing guns at him. Nita tells Kong that he must jump, but Kong is too tired. Ursus tells his men not to waste their bullets, that they can finish off the ape in another way, as Kong is cornered on the edge of a cliff, and the ape army brings a large spear. Nita picks up a rock and throws it at the apes, trying to protect Kong. But this causes the primates to laugh, as they continue forward with the spear, and manage to wound Kong on his side. As Nita watches, Kong is being badly wounded by those who considered him their god. Meanwhile, Dr. Zaius arrives where the fight against Kong is taking place, accompanied by Zira, Cornelius, and Argus, who begin to argue with Ursus in an attempt to stop Kong's destruction and to prevent him from continuing to march towards the Forbidden Zone. The fight between Ursus and Argus begins, and when Ursus aims his gun at Argus, he quickly changes the direction of his attack towards Kong and fires at Nita. The shot at Nita causes Kong to grab her with his hand and jump with her off the cliff. No one saw Kong's fall. It is as if the abyss of the Forbidden Zone had swallowed the ape and his companion, so Ursus's army began to walk towards the Forbidden Zone, the streets of the old New York. Meanwhile, Milo and Lucius discuss what to do with the body of the human they found. But as they talk, they hear something coming out of the water. It is the Icarus, the spaceship on which George Taylor arrived in the future. It is here that the apes understand that this spaceship is a means of transportation and a secret that they will have to keep from the rest of the apes in the city. In the third Planet of the Apes movie, in the original story, Zira and Cornelius traveled back in time using the Icarus spaceship, but how they managed to retrieve the spaceship was not explained very well. This part of the story, although it doesn't have much to do with Kong, closes the gap on how the apes found the Icarus. It is certainly one of the most interesting elements of this story. Meanwhile, Dr. Zaius tells his men that Kong has most likely lost his life. But Ursus's men decide to continue. Nita and Kong begin to walk through the city. Meanwhile, Ursus's troops begin to descend the cliff and reach the old New York, where they see the body of a human, possibly Nita. A trail of blood leads them to a cave, where the apes begin to experience hallucinations. They see the statue of the lawgiver and hear sounds echoing in their heads. The apes begin to panic and scream that they must escape this cursed place before they go insane. Now Dr. Zaius, Zira, and Cornelius return to the city, where they begin to discuss their future. The council has come to an agreement with Dr. Zaius. They are willing to pardon him, but he will have to erase all evidence that the Skull Island expedition occurred and all traces that Kong ever visited Ape City. They will have to maintain their religions and beliefs as they were before the Great Ape's arrival, and they will not be able to talk about it again. This is the reason why Cornelius and Zira never mention Kong, as this would mean death for them. After this, Zira and Cornelius begin to question their role in Ape City and come to a realization. They must escape from this city if they wish to survive. as their ideas put them at risk. At that moment, Lucius and Milo arrive and tell Zira and Cornelius that they must see their discovery in the Forbidden Zone. This is interesting because this disagreement with Dr. Zaius is what leads Zira and Cornelius to travel back in time, and for that reason, we see them arriving on the Icarus spaceship, in the third Planet of the Apes movie. Meanwhile, we see Kong and Nita arriving at the ruins of the Empire State Building, the famous place for the scenes of Kong in the past, where Kong was on top of this building, fighting against the US Army. But this time, Kong arrives badly wounded. As Nita tries to protect Kong, we see several humans begin to emerge from the depths of the city, questioning what has reached their territory. It is the mutants we saw in the original films who noticed this great ape, and their leader realizes that this Kong is losing his life. We see how the mutants Mendez and Albina begin to talk to each other and say that this is a sign that the last war is coming. The last words of the mutant leader before the inert body of Kong are the following.
It is the Alpha. We are the Omega. Two essential beings on the ends of one spectrum of life. They knew not the importance such a being suggests, just as they know not ours. They cast it out, down from their heavens and into ours. That balance has shifted irreparably. The end is nigh. We are now at the cusp of a great war. A war for survival. A war in which Alpha and Omega have met, and in turn, all shall be eradicated. In this moment, the brightest before the dark, we shall honor the Alpha. We shall leave it a vision of peace in its final moments. May its death in this place of worship spark the light with which to lead the way of Omega. Glory be to the bomb and to the holy fallout. As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be. World without end. Amen.
This concludes the story of Kong, the last of his species. Lifeless in front of the Empire State Building and the mutants, who saw this event as a sign that the great end was approaching. Undoubtedly, this story has been one full of many surprises, and it would be interesting to see a movie or an animated series, since many elements that have no explanation in the movies are explained, such as the discovery of Icarus and the reason why Zira and Cornelius escaped. In the near future, we will be narrating other comics from the Planet of the Apes universe, as this is just the beginning. But tell me, what do you think? Did you like the story of Kong on the Planet of the Apes? And for more videos from the Planet of the Apes universe, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You are on The Oasis Geek.